Hello, my name is Kirsten. I like to read, and welcome to my YouTube channel. So I know most new booktubers start off with the booktube newbie tag, but that video concept doesn't super duper excite me to film, and I created this channel to talk about things that do super duper excite me. So maybe I'll come back around to that after I've done a video or two, but for right now, I want to talk to you about my January TBR. So the Throne of Glass series is written by the famous Sarah J. Maas. If you've been on BookTube for a while, you probably know about the Throne of Glass series. I have read, you can see behind me, this is my read books shelf. So I have read the first 4 in the Throne of Glass series right there. But that was 3, 4, maybe even 5 years ago now. And I don't remember anything. So I'm starting fresh in January with The Assassin's Blade, and I'm hoping that by reading 1 book a month, I'll be able to get the entire series read in 2021, in January. So I know nothing about this series. I'm sure most of you have read at least 1 book in this series before and know what it's about, because I am desperately behind on my Maas reads, but yeah, I know most people really like A Court of Mist and Fury the best, so that's cool. But can I just say, look at how much thicker this book is than this book. Like, look at them next to each other. Look at how much bigger this book is. I had no idea this one was so much bigger, but here we are. So that's a lot to be reading in January already. The next read-along that I am going to be participating in January is Jade and Gavin's middle grade monthly. So every month they read a middle grade book, and seeing as I teach middle school, I'm a middle school math teacher, I made it one of my 2021 goals to participate in their middle grade monthly book club every month. So this month they chose Keepers of the Lost Cities, not Keepers, Keeper of the Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger. Again, I don't know anything about this. Wow, I am highly underprepared for this video. So I'll just read the back for you, I guess. 12-year-old Sophie Foster has a secret. She is a telepath and has a unique ability to hear the thoughts of everyone around her. That is not a skill I would like to have. That sounds like it would drive me absolutely nuts. Something that she's never known how to explain and has made her an outcast even in her own family. But everything changes the day she meets Fitz, a mysterious boy who appears out of nowhere and also reads minds. She discovers there's somewhere she does belong, and staying where she is will put her in grave danger. In the blink of an eye, Sophie is forced to leave behind everything and start a new life in a place that is vastly different from her own. Sophie has new rules and skills to learn, and not everyone is thrilled with her homecoming. There are secrets buried deep in Sophie's memory, secrets that other people desperately want, would even kill for. So, sounds fantastic. Honestly, the mind reading thing in the whole world she doesn't belong in is reminding me a little bit of the Sookie Stackhouse series, but obviously it's going to be nothing alike because the Sookie Stackhouse series is just straight adult smut, and this is a middle grade novel, so obviously they won't be anything alike. It's just reminding me kind of that, I guess. So anyway, Keeper of the Lost Cities. I'm excited to get some more middle grade in my repertoire, so I can recommend some cool books to my middle school students. Next up, I participate in a book club with my best friend from college, Miranda, and her sister, Autumn. And so every month we rotate to decide who's picking the book. So this month is Miranda's turn to pick our read for January, and she picked The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh. I don't have a copy of that book right now. I will be ordering it probably from Barnes & Noble. I've been trying to not order from Amazon as much, trying to support bookstores closer to me, so I'm going to go check the indie bookstore that is just down the street from me to see if they have it. They don't have an online site, so if they don't have it, I'll probably be ordering it from Barnes & Noble. But anyway, I'll put a picture of The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh here. All I know is that it's a young adult vampire novel. I know that there's romance in it, and I am here for the vampire romances. Like, that is, yes, yes. I recently have been reading the From Blood and Ash series, which is an adult romance with the whole vampire thing going on. It's my thing. I didn't think I liked it because Twilight kind of ruined it for me, but, which you can see right above me, right there. Yeah. But I'm here for it. The next book that I have on my TBR for January is Stamped from the Beginning by Ibram X. Kendi. The Definitive History of Racism. The Definitive History of Racist Ideas in America. So I am buddy reading this with a teacher friend of mine. We are doing a unit coming up on literature. She's a language arts teacher, but on literature that addresses racism and racist concepts in America, both from history and in present day. So she's reading the young adult version and I'm reading the adult version, so we can sort of compare, get some excerpts for our unit, that kind of thing. So I'm excited about this. I've heard amazing things about it, but I do think it's going to be a challenging read for me because it's nonfiction and I don't often read a whole lot of nonfiction. So I will probably end up tabbing this so I read just like a little bit each day instead of trying to read it all in one sitting. But I am excited about this, and I'm excited to sort of expand my knowledge of the history of the United States and how history, like the history of slavery and racism, still plays a role in today's society, because obviously I feel like I have a lot to learn about this. So I'm excited to learn, especially from an Own Voices nonfiction novel. Not a novel if it's nonfiction. Another one of my goals for 2021 was to read more sequels and to finish some of the millions of series that I have on my shelves. I have, gosh, I don't know, many, 40 series, I want to say, that I've started and have not finished on my shelves here. So my goal is to actually finish some of those and to, I'm a math person, so I like to make things like numerical, reachable goals, not just like more, but like put a number to it. So my goal is to finish one series a month in 2021. So this month I decided that I am going to be reading Children of Virtue and Vengeance. I read the first novel, Children of Blood and Bone, in, I want to say like July or August of 2020, and I loved it. It had so much energy in the book, and the characters in the book are so dynamic, and their relationships with each other are so dynamic. I love seeing the potential love interest relationships, but more than that, the friendships in this novel, or I guess in the first book in this series, I really loved. What are their names? The friendship between Zelly and Amari. I loved that. I feel like it's really hard to find good female friendships because a lot of times authors write females as like these competitive love interests or as something where they can't just naturally have a good friendship. But this book, Zelly and Amari, I love seeing how they go kind of from enemies to friends in this book. And it just makes me really happy to read. So, and I hear that Children of Virtue and Vengeance is both better and worse than the first one. So I'm excited to read it and form my own opinion on this book. Oh, and I didn't say, this is by Tomi Adeyemi. But also, while it's here, can you just look at how gorgeous this cover is? Like, seriously. Beautiful. Beautiful. So, anyway, we'll be reading this. So next up, I have The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. I feel like I don't need to explain anything about this, but I will tell you why I'm reading this. I am reading this because my group of friends like to do movie nights every couple of weeks whenever we're all available. And so we are moving on to The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings movies, but I have this thing where I don't like to watch movies before I've read the book. So I've never seen The Lord of the Rings movies or The Hobbit movies, and I'm very excited to watch them with my friends. So I read The Hobbit earlier this year and absolutely loved it. I loved it. I was so nervous I wasn't going to love it, but that I wasn't going to like it at all. But the atmospheric writing was amazing. And that's one of my favorite things to read about is atmosphere. So I think it's really important as readers that we're able to identify what makes a book good for us. And so for me, the two major things are atmosphere and characters. Absolutely nothing could happen throughout the book, but if the atmosphere was described in a way that I want to be there, the book is top of the shelf for me. So anyway, Fellowship of the Ring. My friend recently finished the entire trilogy, and she hated the Fellowship of the Ring. She really didn't like it, but she liked the other two better. But she has acknowledged that this one is very atmospheric, so she thinks that I'll like it a lot. So I'm excited to give this one a read. Next up, I have 5 books that I have chosen from a TBR game that I played, which I will make sure to film for you all next month, but I played it before I decided that I was going to start a booktube, before I decided to talk about these books. So, I really, really, really loved Bookathon from Becca and the Books. Becca did a readathon earlier this year talking about or using her TBR game, which is Bookopoly, and she called it Becca's Bookathon, and I loved it. So I made my own Bookopoly board. Thank you, Becca. I will link all of her videos in the chat below, her Bookopoly playlist. But I created my own Bookopoly board called Kirsten's Bookathon for myself to play every month and for myself to add books onto my TBR every month because I like filling prompts. I think it's fun to do a mini readathon every single month. So I did 5 rolls for mine. Doubles mean I would have to add an extra, but I didn't roll any doubles this time. So I did 5 rolls. Let's see what they were, and let's talk about the books that I came up with. So my first roll was a chance card, and I just use a randomizer spinner thing on my phone for my chance cards. But there are 12 books that were on there, 6 that I'm real excited to get to and I want to get to now, and 6 that I still want to read but are just not quite as high up on my TBR that maybe I've lost some excitement for because I've had them for a while, or I just don't know a lot about them or something like that. So first book that I got is one that I have been dying to read, which is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. This is quickly turning into, I'm realizing, a BookTube staple. Nearly everybody that I watch on BookTube has either read this book or has it on their TBRs. V.E. Schwab is an amazing writer. I haven't read much from her, but she did write a short story in Because You Love to Hate Me. I'll get the book. Here we go. V.E. Schwab wrote a short story in this book, and it was about death, and she personified death because this short story collection is all about villains and rewriting villain stories and things like that. So she wrote death and personifying it and turning death into a villain, essentially. And her short story made me cry. This is the only V.E. Schwab I've ever read, and it's a 12-page short story, and I cried. And I don't cry easily when it comes to books. So I am so excited to get into V.E. Schwab's novels, starting with, now, A Darker Shade of Magic. So basically what I understand about this, I don't know a whole lot. I really like to go into my books blind, so if you watch my channel, just know you won't be getting very many synopses of books before I read them. I will give them to you in my wrap-ups, but before I read them, I really like to go into books blind and really not know what to expect. So just so you know, that's something to expect from me. But from what I understand, there are 4 different Londons, a black London, a red London, a gray London, and something else. And there's this guy here who can jump between the different Londons. So it sounds to me like it's a multi-dimensional kind of book, which is right up my alley. And I hear that V.E. Schwab writes characters who are in like their 20s in that new adult sort of region, which is where I'm at in my life. So it's really important to me that I'm reading characters who are sort of at the same phase in their life as I'm at. So I'm very, very excited to give this one a go. My second role on Kirsten's Bookopoly was Micah Recommend. So Micah is my amazing boyfriend, and he honestly couldn't care what I'm reading. He loves to hear me talk about books, but he's like, you pick what you want to pick. So for his recommendation, I chose a book that came from him and his family for Christmas for me this year. I thought that since he got it for me, or he helped to get it for me, that it counted as a recommendation from him. So the one that I'm reading is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. I've been wanting to get more into like the canon of science fiction and fantasy, and this is the canon of science fiction, and I'm very, very excited to read this. I'm very excited to get into this. Again, I know very little about the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, except that the meaning of life is 42. I'm excited to see how that even is a thing in this book. I'm very excited. The cool thing about the set that I got was it's the trilogy, but it's split into 5 editions. I'm not entirely sure why it's split into 5 editions, but it works for me for a TBR because it means that my edition is much, much shorter, which makes me a happy girl. So, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. My next one is another chance card, and this is one that I kind of lost interest for. I got it in a book box in June or May, something like that. And it never really grabbed my attention, but I think I'll like it. That is Incendiary by Zoraida Cordova. So this is a young adult fantasy, and again, I'm so sorry, guys. I know nothing about these books. I will wrap them up for you at the end of January and tell you what they're all about. But I have heard great things about Incendiary, and I do love the typical YA fantasy. I love the structure of YA fantasy. And I love most of the elements that are seen in YA fantasy. And I think this will provide a new perspective because it is written by an author of color. And I feel like YA fantasy is it's an age category and a genre that is taken over by white writers. And don't get me wrong, I love me a good Sarah J. Maas and Leigh Bardugo, and like I love them. But I think it will be important and unique to read a book from an author of color. So I am very, very excited to give this one a go. And this is the beautiful Owl Crate edition of Incendiary, which means if you look here, it is signed by Zoraida Cordova. So, very exciting. So, I'm hoping that I will love this. Okay, I'm back. I had to plug in my phone. Said it was at 5%. Oh my gosh, you can start to see my stack here. That is wild. I think I have 2 more on my TBR. 2 more. Hang with me, guys. So, the next prompt was one that takes place in the present day. So I chose The Ravens by Cass Morgan and Danielle Page. So I actually do know more about this one. This one is about a group of sorority girls who are actually witches. And the sorority is basically like a group that's all made of witches, and it's a way to cover up that they're witches in the main society, if that makes sense. Anyway, Cass Morgan is the one who wrote the 100 books that the TV show The 100 is based off of. So I've read the first 3 of those books, and I love them. I mean, they're very YA. They move very quickly. There's not a whole lot of development, but they're really, really good. So I'm very, very excited to read The Ravens, which is classified as YA by Barnes & Noble. You can see it's part of the YA book club by Barnes & Noble. But because it's about sorority girls, I'm wondering if it's actually in that genre or in that age category of like new adult that booksellers just don't know what to do with. I'm hoping that's the case anyway, because it is about college and girls who are in college and witches. What's not to like? I mean, honestly. And look at that beautiful cover. I'm here for like the pink and the black vibes. And the last book on my TBR, I rolled to have a short book, which is under 300 pages. So I already have so much on this TBR that I decided I needed to bring that amazing, easy prompt even smaller. And I went with a comic book. So this is Descender Volume 2. I read Descender Volume 1 earlier this year, and I loved it. It is gory, which I am here for, honestly, and it's sweet. I mean, it was intense is really the word for it. This series is intense, and I am so excited for this. But it is about a robot boy who is sort of left behind when the world goes to shit. And so he is found, and it's sort of about the world trying to like compete to figure out who gets to use this robot boy. But this robot boy was programmed to be a companion, so he has feelings like a human does, but the whole world is treating him like he's just this machine. So it's really intense, it's really gory, but it's really cool. And I'm very excited to get into number 2. But also another thing I love about this is that like that description and the art style really actually contrasts each other, because if you look inside, the art style, let me see if I can find a good spoiler-free page here. The art style is very like watercolory, and when I think about sci-fi and like intense gore, watercolor is not the thing that comes to mind. But I kind of love that it contrasts like that, and I wonder if it's an intentional choice. I don't know. I would be interested in figuring out if that's an intentional choice. But anyway, that is my January TBR. So that is, gosh, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 books on my January TBR. Let me just say, I have never read 12 books in a month. My best month ever was 11 books, and I could not possibly squeeze a 12th in. And this is assuming that I finished my December TBR, where it's December 30th. I still have 2 books left. So if I don't finish that, I'm going to have to read that before I read these. So it's a lot. We'll see. But when I did my math, this came out to about 4,000 pages, I think. 4,901 pages. So when I did the math, it means I have to read about 160 pages a day, which actually isn't that bad. Like, it's a lot, and it's going to take a lot of commitment, but it's doable. It's definitely doable. So I'm excited to read these books. Anyway, I guess I should do the whole booktube thing where I show you my stack. Here it is. Plus The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh. So here's my January TBR. Anyway, why does this always happen to me? But again, my name is Kirsten. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I am so excited to start my booktube channel in this new year. I love to talk about books. I often hold up books in my room and just like pretend that I'm talking to a camera and pretend that I'm talking to people about it and like practice giving synopses of books. Obviously, my practice has not paid off because I still am not very good. I don't know. I guess we'll judge at the end of the month when I do a wrap up and can actually give synopses for all of these books that I want to read. But anyway, I've been wanting to do this for a really long time, and I just am so excited to be here. And I want to thank like everyone who is on those reading sprints with me that is hosted by Molly and Jade and Mel for encouraging me to get started on my very first YouTube channel. I think this is going to be a really good adventure for me, and I'm very excited. So thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe down below for more bookish content, and I will see you guys later this week with more bookish videos. Bye!